So all this is extremely important. So I'm trying to consolidate, you know, like all of the important stuff so that I don't go into like a 4 hour rant of importance. So, it's like the shit that Tupac pulled, that was way, way back, right? That was the first threat that was ever made to me. Very little. But then it gets more interesting because there's a place that I went to when I was young, but I went there with my family. Real little. Like real, real little. That was the Voodoo Lounge. Now, see, now that's why I'm saying it's like I don't even want it, but this gets way more fucking confusing from this point on. So basically, so basically, now that's when I was real, real young, like young, like under 10. I was a little tiny thing, man. Now, what's interesting is that what happens next. That's important. Not what happens obviously next. Like, there's a lot of shit that happens, but what's important is right around the time that I re-encounter Tupac, right before he gets shot 2 days later over in Vegas. 2.5 days, whatever. Fucking stop nitpicking, motherfuckers. And then it's like right at that same about time I meet Drew. Not Justin Bieber. Okay, let's make that clean, like clear. All right, not Justin Bieber. My friend Drew, my black friend Drew. Now, I'm not going to go in order here, but basically there was one point in time when Drew showed me a picture of his sister. Okay? The one time that I seen a picture of Drew's sister, now I'm fast forwarding again, okay, to the point where a friend or an acquaintance, a friend, just showed me a picture of the same girl. Now I'm saying to myself, okay, I've seen this person before. Where have I seen this person? And I start going through my memory. And I did this days ago, but I don't know. I didn't know what. Like I started piecing together little bits of here and there stuff, and I'm like, wow. I'm like, you got to be kidding me, man. So I'm also fast forwarding. I have to go backwards now. Around about 15, 16, I was also back at the Voodoo Lounge. Maybe 17. No, I think it was like 15 or 16. Maybe I was turning 17. I was back at the Voodoo Lounge. Now, what's interesting that happened there, that was with Loki, or the person that I consider Loki. And the shit that was pulled there at that point in time, there were supposedly, I did not see them, there was supposedly two bodies that were put in a place. Now, what's fucked up is that the police come to fucking, am I remembering this correctly? Had nothing to do with this at all. Brought there, told about this, and then just like every other fucking time, yeah, see, I don't have time to remember this correctly, but I do know that fucking, yeah, because I am almost positive. I am almost positive that police were sent directly to my vicinity about shit that, yet again, I had nothing to fucking do with. And not to mention that's the whole thing. It's like my father had to get involved. Like the police, I don't even think the police came up to just me. Like they came up to my father about this, that raised me. And it was like, Anthony, did you see anybody? I'm like, no, I didn't see anybody. But the fucking things were, they were supposedly there, blah, blah, blah. Now, that's a real interesting thing, too, because if I'm also remembering... Now, that's also the time that not only did I bump into what looked like Ari in the pictures of the top hat, but I also met an old, like, heavy-set black guy. I think he had a cane. And there was, and that's also the same time. That's also the same time that I met Vixen, Violet. Now, Violet, me and Violet, she had an attitude. He dressed like a she, had a very, very big attitude. But that's the whole thing. Loki, or the one that I consider Loki, did not. Wow, dude. That's why it's like, okay, so sticking to the facts is that this whole thing pops off. So then I'm pretty sure I have to be brought back to this place to point out where the fuck this was said to me and blah, blah, blah. And a whole big thing went down that I didn't get all the details on. Even like why it was happening. Like I didn't get all the fucking details. I just was like, look, man, like why does my name keep getting brought up for shit that fucking, it's like, it doesn't even involve me. That's what I'm saying. Because in other words, like they were trying to fucking put that on me as like I got this fucking big... It's like, why are you sending cops right to me? It's like you just told yet again on yourselves. I didn't see nobody. There's no fucking thing that fucking bullshit, man. This is crazy. This is fucking crazy. And it gets even more fucking insane from this point on. So now we're going to... And that was back then. That was around like, I would say anywhere between 15 and I'm thinking that was around 15, maybe 16. That's what I'm saying. It's like they were planning against the girl that looked like Ari in the top hat. Now, in certain photos, okay, like there's her wearing a top hat. The bottom line is that fucking Vixen, Violet, was saying that she was her and she was, and I was like, no, you're not. I'm like, blah blah blah. This is, like, in other words, like, yo, man, Violet was dressed like Violet. When I first met Violet, freaking, she was dressed like the with the fucking red hair, the fucking, like, dude, like all pulled back, looked very much so like one of my cousins, my little niece. You see, and that's around also too. I'm saying that's also leading up to the Sea Org, because Violet was supposedly at the Sea Org the day that I came to the Sea Org too. But I also met Violet. Yo, man, that's why I'm saying. But that's not even the half of it. When I got brought back there, they were ready to fucking kill me. All right, and there was a woman that I'm almost positive, dude. It was the same person that I seen when my friend showed me the picture saying it was his sister. Also, the picture that I just seen recently, but that's not even where it ends there. Now, supposedly, she put a stop to all of that because of certain things that were being done. Now, that fast forward a little bit from about 15, 16, a little bit more time. See, around here, I bumped into, like, around here up at the fucking stores, I bump into this person back then. I just don't know when it was. I think it was after I met my friend Jimmy that I bumped into this woman. So that would have been like upwards of like 2000, 2001. That might have been after 2001. The point being, yeah, because the thing is that I'm pretty sure now there's another situation. The other situation is that freaking there was a girl that I met, and this is going back more towards 15, more towards around 15 years old. There was a girl that I met that had my friend Jesse's last name. And when I turned around to Jesse, no, this would have been after 15. This would have been right before her daughter was born. 2 encounters with this girl that had an interesting name, but it also had the same last name as what I was told was the same last name as Jesse. So when I said, "Oh wow, you know that blah blah," I ran that past Jesse. Jesse was like, "There's nobody with that name out here, Anthony." Like, now, the first time and the second time of me meeting this girl was separated by, like, I don't know, a month, maybe 2 months. Maybe a little bit more than 2 months, but not. It wasn't that much time separating point A and point B. So this had to be after I met Jimmy that I met this girl. And in other words, this girl had the same name, last name as Jesse. So I run it past Jesse, and I'm like, Jesse, I'm like, is there anybody in your family with this name out here? Because this girl was so cool, and we smoked a bowl together and blah blah blah, and it was like, she was really a freaking, like, I seem to like this girl, and it was like, and Jesse is like, I'll look at, but she's like, I don't think so. And then she comes back to me and she's like, there is nobody with that name. But that's the thing. It's like that's the whole thing. And then I don't see Jesse, but yet I end up back out here waiting to do something. I don't know if it was pick up a bag of weed, or I don't know if I had to bring Jimmy out here for some reason. But that girl pulls up to me again, and I get back, I get into the car with them. They're like, come for a quick ride, blah, blah, blah. I smoke a bowl with them, and then all of a sudden, so we're in we're basically at a traffic light, and they're like, okay, Aunt, get out the car, blah, blah, blah. We'll see you around, blah, blah, blah. I get out the fucking car. The minute I get out the car, all of a sudden they go to go through the fucking green light, with the fucking light turning green. They go through the fucking light, and a fucking car comes and smacks them. Car accident, bad. I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah, and it was a decent enough distance away at that point where I could see it, but it was like, there's nothing that wow, man. I didn't even know this person. So then it gets even better. So I go home. I tell my father what had just happened. And he's like, are you blah, blah, blah. He's like, what, are you kidding me? Blah, blah, blah. He's like, there's no fucking car accident out there. There's no car accident out there. He gets on the phone with somebody else, and they find out that the fucking car accident that happened, this is 20 minutes. This is 40 minutes, an hour later, after it happens, I'm like, yeah, I could have been in the fucking car, and it's like I met this nice girl, and freaking, blah blah blah, and it's like, my father's like, what are you talking? He's like, so he goes and he calls up and finds out if fucking there was an accident out here. There was no accident out here. So the person looks into it and finds out that fucking car accident actually did. This is like a day or two later. That car accident actually did take place, but it took place in Florida. Now, when I say, like, I was home within an hour. My father was on the phone within like 20 minutes, half an hour after I called. After I talked to him about what just happened out here. This is New York. This is Mastic. Finds out that this girl, because I was like, oh, this girl was so nice. I want to know if she's all right. I freaking, I didn't know what to fucking do. Blah blah blah. The bottom line is that when it gets back that there was no car accident out here. They find out the car accident took place in Florida. Shortly after that, my friend pulls up. A couple days go by, a week or two goes by. I see, and I'm fucking, yo, man, this is crazy. You know what? I'm not even certain about certain details, like the time frame. I'm not thinking of it fucking 100%. I'm thinking of the chain of events. I'm not thinking of times and dates right now. What I am thinking of is chains of events and how they unrolled, and fucking the bottom line is that, in other words, my friend Jessie pulls up, and she's got good news, and I got the news that I got. And the bottom line is that freaking, she's like, remember that girl you brought up to me? She tells me that she's pregnant. And then she says, remember that girl you brought up to me? I think I'm going to name my kid that. So, wow, man. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff here, man. Because that's the whole thing. It's like, I was like, Jessie, I don't know if that's a good idea, this, that, but I didn't know what else to say. There's like no time to think of all this, because then on top of that, wow, man. The very first time that I bumped into the girl in the photo. Now I'm changing people here, okay? Back to the girl in the photo. The very first time that I met that girl was out here. But years ago. This is 2021 and I've been out here for about 8 years, okay? The first time I met her was back then. Like, I would think it was around 15. It was even before all this. It might have been after. No, it was probably beforehand. It was beforehand. I didn't even meet Jimmy yet. And that's the thing. It's like this all happened after I met, like, with the freaking girl that got into the car. That nobody knew who this girl was. That there was no car accident out here. That girl's name was the same as that. She looked the same. Oh my god, that's crazy. It's crazy. That's why I'm saying it's like wouldn't know that until Jesse's daughter grew up, and unfortunately Jesse's daughter is now gone, and I am sitting here saying to myself, the girl that I met prior to that was the girl in the picture, and when I started to bring up this and that to that girl, I said, oh yo, and this was right after he showed me the picture, right after my friend Drew showed me the picture of his sister. I bumped into his sister. And just a few days ago, as I'm thinking of all this in my head, I'm saying to myself, holy shit. Holy shit. Because I already put the video up, and I said, you know something? I said, wow, man. I said, yo, that's the girl that was swinging Rihanna. That was one of the girls that was swinging Rihanna, like helping Rihanna. Like it was like we were little kids singing the freaking song Kissing, and freaking with freaking Rihanna sitting there in between both of them, swinging. It's like, hi Anthony. It's like, yo man. It's like that's the same girl. So that means that freaking. And that girl was older than me and Rihanna, and yet this picture was from. That's why I'm saying this picture. Wow. My friend just showed me, and I was like, well, my acquaintance friend just showed me, and the point is that it's like I tried getting him back on the phone. I don't have a lot of time to pick through all this. The bottom line is that it's the same person, and I'm saying it's the same person from. That's why it goes even back into like the Voodoo Lounge, and then it's also the same person that my friend showed me the picture of his sister all those years ago. And then not only did I bump into her back then, in the same spot where I bumped into her when I first came out here too. And if it wasn't the same spot the second time, and since I've been out here, I bumped into her a second time, and that was before one of the times that I went down to go see my family. That might have been right before the first time. That's why it's like 2 times I bumped into this person again. After the initial time and after seeing the picture for the first time, plus the Voodoo Lounge. I'm pretty freaking sure they were a part of that too. They were the one that helped put a stop to the bullshit that was about to go down at the Voodoo Lounge. Which is in a completely different state. Obviously. Now there was 2 places, when I went down to go visit my friend, there was 2 places that he was very. We drove past the Voodoo Lounge. I said, where the fuck have I seen this place before? But he's like, yeah, I'd bring you there, but that's a pretty rough place, man. He's like, there's certain things. He's like, you're not ready for that. And I'm like, yeah, all right, whatever, man. I don't really care. I didn't have no money, so it really didn't matter to me where the fuck we hung out, while I was freaking hanging out, getting my fucking head clear from all the shit that was going on up here over the past fucking few years of my life. But then there was another place, and that was this girl that I think her name was freaking Tabitha. Now that's interesting because I've seen a girl that looks similar to her around here. Now, I don't know whether that person had any fucking horrible ill intent towards me, but my friend was not. As many times it was like, bring Anthony around, bring Anthony around. Donnie kept bringing it up to me. He's like, I really don't want to bring you to her house. I really don't want to bring you to her house. I'm like, whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I am just here to get my fucking head straight, man. That's why it's interesting. And we drove past, I'm pretty sure, the fucking That's why I'm saying it's like, it's like that's what I'm saying, man. It's like we drove past the Voodoo Lounge prior to the night where I seen, and I got that a little bit probably misconcurred. That was probably a few days, a couple weeks. I was there for a little while, so it was like it's like a month and a half or so. That was prior to the night that I seen Dylan Roof in the bar, in the other bar, not the Voodoo Lounge, in the other bar. That doesn't seem to exist anymore, by the way. So yeah, there's all of that. That was right before Dylan Roof. I'm talking. See, that's what I mean. I'm skipping around, and it's like all these little details, and then it's like to see that girl again, and then to see a picture of that girl, and say in my, he's like, oh yeah, that's my friend. I'm like, wow, and then that's the same person that my friend showed me the picture of that said it was his sister all those years ago, and it was the girl that I bumped into about 3 different times out here. Maybe 4, because there might have been 2 times around the time that I was around 15, 16. And then there would have been the time around about Jimmy that I'm thinking I might have bumped into her again. But that time it was weird. I don't think she even recognized me. Like it was weird. She was working on what the fuck was going on. I'm pretty sure that's what fucking she was working on, what the fuck was went down out here, where freaking like other people seen the accident but there was no accident. And then it came to find out that the fucking accident actually took place down in Florida, and there's no fucking way for me to get from fucking Florida to here in an hour. Not even an hour, in a fucking 40 minutes, 30 minutes. But what does make sense is that heavyset black guy that was in the fucking Voodoo Lounge when I was around 15, Loki, and the fucking bodies that I never seen, but yet fucking cops were directed straight towards me. Which everybody then got in fucking involved in. Because it was fucking bullshit. But then it's also the fucking Sea Org. And bumping into Violet on the Sea Org. I didn't realize that Violet was my cousin. Because the only cousins that I had were the cousins that fucking I knew. That's why this whole thing is so fucking, because it's interesting that it's also, I'm thinking that same black guy, heavyset black dude, I'm thinking that's the same dude that had something to do when the situation A, B, and C took place. I brought in Group A, brought in Group B to clean up Group A, and then Group C was brought in to clean up Group B, but Group B was a part of Group C. Yo. And then to think that that girl, I'm almost positive that's the same. It's the same fucking. That's what I'm saying. It's like, and then to think that freaking that girl stuck up for me at the Voodoo Lounge. That was the same girl that was swinging Rihanna all those years ago. So I just keep saying to myself, it's like, wow, that's this is just. Am I leaving anything out? let's see. This is all. This is all what's important in this. I didn't bring up, Tower Visit 1 and then Tower Visit 2. No, I brought up the Sea Org thing because that's what took place, and that's what, and the Tupac thing. Because it was right around the Tupac thing that the first time I met Drew. Which is also very interesting because then there was also that incident too, which is impossible. Supposedly, this is crazy. This is crazy. This is just to make me look fucking crazy. Fuck this bullshit. This is fucking nuts. This is fucking nuts. My foot is killing me. My foot is fucking killing me. Fuck. Oh, the other thing that's important. Now, this is another thing that's really important. I kept bringing up to Jesse. Now, a few times, I don't even think I had Jesse on the phone. I don't know whether it was a recording. I definitely heard some weird shit, like fucking, like, there was definitely possibly some fucking, some type of magic being used. But it also seemed like a few times that I talked to Jesse on the phone, they were recordings because of the fucking background noises and everything else. But there was a few times that it seemed like I was talking to her, and it might not have been her. Then there was, a few times that I probably did talk to her. So that's the whole point. It's like every time I brought up to Jesse, I said, Jesse, were you up in New York about 10, 11 years ago? She kept saying no. I was like, Jesse, you're not one to ever lie to me. Like we never fucking, like, I didn't fucking I never lied to Jesse. Over some stupid coins, which wasn't even okay. Like fucking, and I still never fucking. That's why I'm saying, it doesn't matter. I apologized. Fucking, it wasn't just my fault. And the fucking bottom line is that freaking. Other than that, it's like me and Jesse have been pretty freaking straightforward with one another throughout the time that we've been friends. Now, at the same time, we met through Wallster. Now, a few years ago, this is 2021, a few years back, more than a few years ago, about 10 years ago, 9 or 10 years, I would say about 10 years ago, roundabout, a girl comes walking out of the apartment, the guy's apartment next door to mine, when I was in Ronkonkoma. This was around about the same time that Emilio Martinez's bullshit that he was pulling